Hi everyone, this is Sonora Slater and you're listening to Agricola with the California Aggie, UC Davis's student-run newspaper. Maybe you've read our articles online or picked up a paper from the newsstand inside Shields Library, but we're coming to you now in an audio format. I'm super excited to dive into providing you a deeper look at the people, places, and events we cover every day at the Aggie, and I hope you enjoy listening. Before we dive into our main story, here's a look into this week's top headlines. Last weekend, the Whole Earth Festival celebrated its 55th annual event, bringing in local music, artists, crafting experiences, and more, all with the focus of sustainability. In upcoming ASUCD events, Planet Her 3, the final installment of ASUCD Senator Danny Antonio's series of quarterly female-focused events this year, will be happening on June 7th and is currently set to take place on the Memorial Union Quad. And finally, some updates from the pro-Palestine encampment currently set up on the Quad. Campus leadership met with protest spokespeople on Monday, May 13th to open a conversation and discuss negotiations. The UC Davis Anti-Imperialist Student Association also organized a walkout on Wednesday, May 15th to support the encampment and their cause. Now, for this week's main story. Last Friday, May 10th, night owls and insomniacs in Davis were treated to an unexpected surprise: the Northern Lights. The phenomenon, otherwise known as the Aurora Borealis, can usually only be seen close to the North Pole. The lights at the South Pole are known as the Aurora Australis. Did a pretty good job making the story come to life. Let's hear from her now. So if you could just start by introducing yourself, like the basics, that would be great.
All right. Okay. So, hi, my name is Marin. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a freshman in biomedical engineering.
Amazing, thank you. So what was your experience like on Friday? Did you know a few days ahead of time that you were going to try and see this, or what was the timeline like? And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I did know that there was like a small chance of it happening. And there was an astronomy club. I've been trying to join them for the whole year. They weren't at like the club rush, and I've been like trying to find them. And then I met a guy on picnic day, like at the farmers market, who had the Discord. So I joined the Discord, and so I saw that they were having a public viewing night earlier that week. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go because I haven't been to like a star party, is what we called them in my high school astronomy club. So I haven't been to one since then. Um, so I was excited. I wanted to go. There was like a lecture at 8, I think, in Rossler, and then we started the viewing on the rooftop at around 9 or something. And then so first, we were just using the telescopes, kind of looking around. They did a couple of star talks, and it was supposed to end at 10:30. And I asked, like, hey, since the Aurora, if it's going to show up, is going to show up later, is anyone staying? So the officer that I asked, I don't know his name, but the officer that I asked, he was like, oh yeah, I'll ask the rooftop helpers if anyone is okay for like staying up here and watching everyone. And so they said they were. So we stayed up there for a while. A few of my friends had showed up, and so I was sitting there and talking, and then somebody just like yells, I think around like 11:30-ish, somewhere between there. They were like, oh my God, we can see it. I like jump up. I'm like sitting down on a ledge, and I'm like, oh my God. So I jump up and I kind of like run over to like the north end of the building, which is kind of like the direction that it's in. So we're facing, so this is on top of the physics building, and we're facing towards, like, you can see like the chemistry building, you can see um like the lawn in front of the physics building out front. Um and so I there's not really, you can't really see very much to your naked eye, but for a lot of that is often very true. So I do astrophotography. Like this is like it's kind of like my thing. And so for it's very true for a lot of astrophotography that you can't see nearly as much with your naked eye as you can with your camera. So I had brought my camera for this express purpose in case it showed up. And so I can't really tell that it's happening very much with my eyes, but I get out the camera and you can see it, and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And so um so I set it up and I just kind of keep it going, just taking a bunch of photos. I think I took like probably over 400 photos or something over the night until it died. Um and so I was just kind of sitting there like next to it, like making sure that no one would knock it off the edge because it's like sitting on the edge of the roof. And I just kind of got hit with this weird, I keep wanting to call it vertigo, but I don't think that's the right word. But you know how it's like surreal. Like you
Yeah.
know how people always say like it felt like I was in a dream. I've never actually felt that before. So I've never actually gotten a feeling like that so strongly. And then I kind of stepped back from the camera for a second and I was looking around at all these people and I was looking at the sky, and you can see bits of color. You can see like pink and green just very vaguely in the sky. You can see kind of like brighter pillars where the stripes are, the brighter bits are of the aurora. And I kind of step back and I look at all of this and I get this really weird feeling that I mean, again, I've never had this before actually happen to me, but I just feel like I'm going to wake up any second now. Like this is a hallucination. Like this cannot possibly be happening to me. This cannot possibly be real. I've wanted to see the Northern Lights for a really, really long time. And I've I've tried to I've like going to, like my family wants to go see them as well. So we were probably eventually going to go travel somewhere to go see them. But I never thought that I would be able to see them without even having to leave California, which it was just insane. And and so as that goes on, I text my friends. I'm like, oh my God, guys, you can see it. And more people start showing up on the roof. And there's just like, it was pretty empty. There were only a few people who had stayed behind like later than 10:30. And then I left there around 1
Oh,
was
wow.
when they kind of started, was when they were about kicking people off. And it was just, it was packed. It was full of people because everyone wanted to see this. And understandably, but it was just, it was really cool. There were so many people there who wanted to see it. And everyone was just kind of, there was just like, everyone was kind of like in awe. Everyone was kind of like screaming and being like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, and we were all like taking pictures and just kind of being like, we're really glad that we were here. Like, we were really glad to be able to experience that, that moment, that really, really special once in a lifetime thing. So yeah, really glad that I got to, I'm really glad that I got to see that.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It was like I felt like I was like in a movie. I was like, wow, we're all the
Yeah.
characters right now. Um, yeah, you mentioned like texting all your friends, and I feel like that was like the exact urge I was hit with as soon as I saw them. I have to text everyone who I've ever met because what if they like sleep through this? Um, so I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Just like uh
Yeah.
I don't know, like urge to have other people join you and like
Mhm.
so it was a common thing. Obviously it was packed, so somehow people were finding out about it.
Yeah. I think it's really funny. One of my friends actually texted, I think his roommate, and was like, and the roommate's like, that's what your photos are for. Like he did not want to get out of bed. I'm like, you're insane for that. He's actually
That's
insane for that. But
crazy.
yeah, I had been trying to get my friends to go to this. I was like texting all of them, like, guys, you should come to the astronomy club viewing. And everyone was busy. So I was sad. A few of them did show up like later in the night. And then one of them, like, she like went home like before 10:30, and then she came back for the aurora. Um, and so, but I like texted my friends and I just texted them this photo. It was like a photo that I took on my phone of my camera screen. like because you can see it so much better on my camera. So I'm like, oh my God, guys, look. And so some of them were like, oh my God, that's so cool. And some of them didn't even say anything, but they just kind of like showed up. Like they just like they just found me. Like I don't know how they knew it was me. It was dark. Like I was one of the many people on this rooftop and they were all like, oh my God. And I'm like, uh, okay, hi. I didn't know you guys would come. I thought I was just trying to tell them to all go look outside, like the building that they were
Yeah.
in, but a lot of them came, which was really fun. Um, it's yeah, it's something that I I like to share like my photos and I like to share the experience with other people. So like I would always try like when I was like I was vice president of my school's astronomy club in high school, so I was like always trying to get my friends to go to the star parties and like go hang out with us, go look
Yeah.
at the stars. You'll think it's really cool. So that was like the same instinct I guess I was getting for this was like you guys have to see this. It's so neat. And it's just so rare. Like you're not going to get this chance again. So if you
Yeah.
and look, it's Friday. We were up till like 2 in the morning, but it's okay. It's a Friday. Who cares?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like the astronomy club membership is gonna spike.
Yeah, skyrocket after
Yeah.
that.
Did any of your friends sleep through it?
I don't know of any of my friends who slept through it. I guess some people I know, like I've talked to, they didn't see it because
Mm,
they were doing something else, or because like it was. I had a few friends. Like, I had a friend in Berkeley who
mm,
at UC Berkeley, and she said that the light pollution was too bad there. And I actually, my family was texting me. I did text I texted my family the picture that I texted to my friends because they had been wondering. They were like, "Are you going to go try and see it?"
mm.
And I said, "Yeah." And so they're down in LA County.
Okay.
Um, and so they, I think, tried to see it, and then they couldn't as well, even because there's, yeah, where we live, a lot of light pollution. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
from some bits of LA County, there were people did get photos, but it wasn't really visible to the naked eye, so it was harder to tell if it was happening.
Yeah.
Um, but for the most part, I haven't talked to a lot of people who were like sleeping through it.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
no one like there were people who didn't see it, couldn't see it for whatever reason, but I don't think I talked to anyone who was like sleeping. I
Just
don't think most of my
bed at
friends
night.
are asleep at 11 p.m.
Okay. Yeah.
on a Friday night. To be honest, would be me. That would be me. That would be me if it hadn't been an astronomy
If you
club
didn't
party.
know, oh, I know. I feel like that would happen to me, but I did not.
Yeah.
You also mentioned, and I thought this was really interesting, just like how much better you can see it on your phone and like through camera. I feel like I would show pictures to people who like couldn't see it and they'd be like, oh,
Mhm.
it's cool. Did it really look like that in person? I'd be like, no. And they're like not exactly. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, like, was it boring? And I'm like, no, like it was not boring. It just doesn't look the same exactly. But
Yeah.
I don't know. You probably, I guess, already knew that discrepancy between the pictures and real life because
hmm
you like know about astronomy. Do you feel like anybody was like disappointed, or do you feel like telling people about it, um, there's any sort of, I don't know, just disconnect between what the experience looks like and then like what it actually is?
I think definitely there's the discrepancy between people just seeing it through the photos and like people actually seeing it in person. I remember, I think it was either the astronomy club or the photography club Discord, one of the two, someone posted like a big list of like tips that they
Mm,
saw from like a person that they follow online. Um, that said like most of the photos that you see, the most of the Aurora photos that you see at this point online are either like AI or like heavily edited. So don't expect to see that.
mm,
Um, and I definitely knew that it wouldn't be like, especially down here. Like it's not going to be even the peak of what it was in person, like at like in the Arctic Circle
yeah.
and stuff here. Um, but I honestly felt like even on like the unedited camera photos, I think were a lot better than I was expecting. Um, and then just in person, I wasn't even sure we would be able to actually see it with our eyes. I thought it might only show up on camera. So being able to like see the color change, you could like tell when it was changing what it looked like because there would be like difference in like the coloring of the sky, difference in like there would be brightness in different areas. So it was really cool. Like, again, it's not what you see on the camera, but being able to see it in person with your own eyes is so cool. And I did not know anyone who was disappointed.
Okay.
All my friends were like taking pictures on their phones and stuff, and they got their phones. I tried it on my phone as well, and their phones did a lot better than mine.
Mhm.
But they were all just like so happy with like whatever they could get to like just remember it. And we were all just so glad to be able to be there and see it in person because it's just, again, it's not the same. Even if it looks like better in the photos, it's still so much cooler to actually be there and see it in person.
Even if you aren't a regular astronomy enthusiast, the lights were a beautiful sight. But sometimes having more appreciation for how and why something is happening can add depth to the experience. I gave a brief overview earlier, but to go a little deeper into the science, distinguished senior lecturer emerita in the UC Davis Department of Physics and Astronomy, Patricia Boshar, sent me an email with some certified scientific expertise. The following is what she sent. As for the auroras, they actually start with a mass particle, protons and electrons, ejection from the sun, during solar flares around massive sunspots at over 1 million miles per hour, aimed at the Earth. So at 93 million miles from Earth, the particles take about 3 days to reach us. When these particles strike the Earth's magnetic field, they spiral around the magnetic field lines and are directed toward the geomagnetic poles where they crash into the Earth's atmosphere about 60 miles up. These collisions excite the oxygen and nitrogen molecules in our atmosphere, which then glow red when they hit nitrogen and blue and green when they hit oxygen. The stronger the solar ejection, the farther the solar particles make it from the poles when they strike the atmosphere, which is when we see the auroras at lower latitudes. I believe the geomagnetic pole is currently north of Greenland, which is why we rarely see auroras here in California, distance, but they are seen more easily closer to the East Coast and in north-central states." End quote. Still have questions? Never fear. I took it upon myself to answer some of the top scientific FAQs about the Northern Lights. Question 1. Why does it look better with my phone? Answer. Newer phone cameras are able to capture much more light than our eyes due to adjustments to be able to take pictures in low light settings. Question 2. I slept through the aurora because no one told me it was happening. Why didn't we know about it further ahead of time? Answer. To put it simply, space weather is hard to predict. It's only when a solar storm eruption gets close enough to a monitoring spacecraft near Earth that we can measure the strength of a geomagnetic storm. However, there are apps that can help you track the potential of seeing the aurora in real time. Question 3. I heard that the aurora can cause outages and otherwise mess with connections. Why? Okay, this one is cool. Essentially, the storm's strong magnetic field can mess with electrical currents, triggering temporary power outages and internet blackouts. It can also impact communications and navigation systems by disrupting signals in the ionosphere, a section of Earth's atmosphere that's filled with charged particles. This interruption also affects GPS systems, which impacted many farmers' operations last weekend as their planting equipment GPS systems used to create straight rows, among other things, went offline. If you're listening and you're one of those who slept through or otherwise missed the phenomenon last week, you might be feeling spiteful and also wondering when you might have a second chance. Well, I have good news for you, although it's a little vague. This sun cycle is expected to reach its maximum in July of next year, which is also when activity is expected to peak. As mentioned, it's difficult to predict specifics, but more geomagnetic storms of various strengths are likely to occur throughout the next year. Still, it's probably best to simply never sleep again, just in case. Just kidding. If the Northern Lights do grace Davis again, make sure you get out of the city and as far away from lights as you can, and be ready between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And if you're not that patient, the Aurora Borealis isn't the only cool sky event coming up. Some of the best meteor showers of the year will take place in August, October, and December. plan a camping trip to Yosemite with your roommates, or check to see if the astronomy club is hosting a public viewing session. On that note, to close us out, here's some thoughts that Oliver Ortiz, the astronomy coordinator for the physics club at UC Davis, shared on why looking up at the sky every once in a while can be good for us.
You know, you obviously have this love for astronomy, and even when it's not like the big exciting event, obviously this year people have been very into the eclipse and very into the aurora, and there have been these sort of big events that people have gotten excited about and sort of helps people maybe get into it. And so to anybody who might now be like, oh, maybe I'm actually interested in this, or maybe I would be interested in joining the astronomy club, I guess what would you say to them about what you get out of it, what that experience is like, and just like what the joy is of, you know, stargazing even on a regular night?
A little more attention to the night sky, and as we like to say, keeping our heads up. It allows you to see a lot of beautiful things in the universe. Makes you appreciate our place in the universe, because looking through the telescopes you can see even like all the galaxies, and thinking about like how massive and immense the universe really is one of the things that I guess interests me personally. But even on a more surface level, interest, just seeing the pretty stars I think is really interesting, because and really exciting, because there are some like, for example, this is binary Alberio that is, we call the Aggie star, and it shows at the moon. And the reason it's called the Aggie star is because there's two stars, and in the telescope you can see one of them is blue and one of them is gold. And so just like the simple star system, I guess, is, I think, not only is it beautiful, but it allows us to create this sort of community and sort of shared interest. Especially again, we call it the Aggie star.
My friends and I love to go stargazing here in Davis, even on regular nights. So when we heard that the Northern Lights might show up, we knew we had to get out there. We did talk about driving to Oregon, but we're not quite that spontaneous. So we ended up sticking around, and we knew that even if we didn't see the Northern Lights, we would have a great time watching for shooting stars, making up fake constellations, having some late night conversations, listening to music, all of that good stuff. And of course, if the Northern Lights showed up, it would be an added bonus that none of us really expected to happen. Around 10:30 or so, we took a couple of pictures with our phones because we had heard that you could see it better through your camera, and we saw this faint green glow. And we kind of thought we were imagining it, or just the long exposure was like making light show up that weren't really there. But when we took pictures facing the south direction as compared to facing the north, the green glow wasn't there. So this little kernel of hope sort of started forming. But we weren't really convinced, because it just feels like this kind of thing isn't something that happens in Davis, California. It happens in Iceland and Alaska, and other amazing places like that. So, you know, the concept of seeing it at a regular stargazing spot was kind of out the window. But I probably will always remember this moment. We were sitting there, sort of joking about it and assuming that light green glow might be all that we're going to end up seeing. And then we start to see these pillars of light form in the sky, these brighter spots, and it like clicks in our minds. We're like, no, this isn't in our minds. This is real. This is happening. And suddenly those spots of pink and green, we can see them moving across the sky. And we take pictures, and just like the vivid colors pop out, and we're freaking out. We ran into the road. There wasn't anyone on the road, I promise. But we ran into the road, and I just remember standing there with my friends. And, you know, I'm graduating in the spring, so hypothetically, this could be one of my last sort of core memories made in Davis, I guess. And being able to witness that with my friends here in this town that I've really come to love was kind of magical. And I think for a lot of people I've talked to, both for this episode and also just in general, it was a similar thing for them. So I hope that this episode brought you some joy. If you were able to see them, I hope you always keep that memory in your mind and that it can be a reminder of Davis in your college years. And that's all I have for today. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week.